Hey, how's your week? Mine's great, and I hope yours is as well. Today, you are going to hear from a wide-ranging This discussion turned I sat down with real estate Gaddis, founder Renee, fueled by the pandemic, to explore which brought in Florida's distinct design of new homeowners to Florida. The Gaddis shares of how in storm-prone regions, combined which we've heard on the major hurricane disaster series before, to client selection the business of luxury project interiors in uncertain she emphasized times her boutique as it relates model to the work. Strong referral Speaking base. From Naples, and Florida, Gaddis to seamlessly integrating interiors with exteriors to other parts of Florida's indoor-outdoor lifestyle. Noting a blend of on the financial side, European, she addressed southern rising costs, which tariffs, is amazing, which everyone's thinking about. While many of her clients lean towards transitional or traditional styles, she observed that value engineering Miami remains and more sourcing U.S. to modern aesthetics, as products. You probably know, and that influences her work in other areas as well. Gaddis also reflected on the importance of partnerships, which we talk about all the time, with trades and vendors, especially during supply chain volatility, while advocating for transparent communication to maintain trust. The conversation also touched on resilient building practices in storm-prone regions. Gaddis highlighted lessons learned from past hurricanes, from identifying flawed hurricane-rated windows to designing with better drainage, elevated platforms, and even safe rooms. Her insights underscored the need for long-term sustainability in luxury projects. Beyond design, Gaddis shares her family's advocacy journey with the American Heart Association, inspired by her daughter's early diagnosis and treatment. This personal commitment, alongside her professional expertise, reflects her philosophy that resilience, whether in design or life, is built through experience, adaptability, and care. And you are going to hear all of it right after this. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on three priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1, aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2, durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. It's funny, we were talking about Florida, South Florida versus Southern California.
Okay.
And it sort of made me want to talk to you because you're not in South Florida, you're in Naples, in that Naples area, so you're up north and to the west.
Mm-hmm.
Is Florida like California, where you've got a northern vibe and a southern vibe, or is it east west? How's the vibe broken out in Florida?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's definitely an east-west. Majority of my clients have come down from the Midwest. So they still have kind of that Midwestern, um, where maybe their homes in the Midwest were a little more traditional, but they're willing to go more transitional down here, but they still have that Midwest vibe. Where there's definitely the Miami vibe, Fort Lauderdale, up that Boca Raton, where it's more modern and it is a lot of Europeans. So it has some of that European influence. But then there is also up in the Panhandle where they have a little more of, I feel like it's a lot of people from Atlanta who have vacation homes, and that's a different vibe. So we do have quadrants, I'd say.
Well, and I bring it up because A, I think it's interesting uh, how design and architecture changes across the US, and it's really interesting. And I don't think many people really paid much attention to that until the pandemic.
For
And
sure.
you had all these people moving. Now, are you still seeing that influx of people, or is it starting to level out?
It's starting to level out. We did have a huge influx during COVID where I'm a little slow on the uptake. So it took me a while to realize all of these people who just they could move because they could work from home. So when they were working remotely, they said, why not move to Florida, buy a boat and be able to be on the water and be in sunshine during all of this. We have definitely started to level out, but either I'm getting older or my clients are getting a lot younger. I'm not sure which it is, but I do feel like we have a younger demographic down here than we've ever had.
Interesting. And it hasn't gotten any cheaper.
No, no, it has not. We are in a bubble.
Yeah. So, what has that done for you and your firm? And
Mhm.
how do you manage and navigate that kind of growth, the ebb and flow where you get this influx of all these people who demand services and product, and then an outflow, as projects are completed.
Mhm.
Does that make you want to look at potential expansion geographically and sort of move the footprint out because now we've learned to do so many more things remotely? Or does that make you want to solidify your position in your territory?
Solidify my position for sure. So I would say that when I said earlier I'm a little slow on the uptake, we are definitely a small boutique firm here, and majority of my clients are referral based and they are repeat clients, and it's their second or third home. It's their vacation home. It's not where they do not live in Florida permanently because the summers here are brutal. And they are for sure snowbirds where they do the 6 months down here for tax reasons. But then when it gets really brutal and hot, they can afford to leave. So when COVID came, there were a lot of people who couldn't necessarily afford to use my firm, but they were calling because of all of the quickness of them coming down here. So they were coming down quickly. If they couldn't find a furnished home to live in, then they wanted somebody to help them fast. And it took me a while to realize what was going on. So these people were, because I typically have a very consistent flow, and these people were calling. And by the time I realized I had taken on too much. So after COVID, because of the delays that I had with my current workload, on top of the additional work I was taking, I found myself with double the amount of work that I typically have. And it took me a little while to unwind that and to be able to say, okay, I need to really look again at interviewing these people and making sure we're taking on full scope. We're taking on people who understand what we do and allow us to do it to our best. And so after all of this happened, and because we were very different than I think everyone else during COVID, so I got busier. And then we also unfortunately had the hurricane hit. So then I had repeat clients who had damage who were calling me saying, I need this done fast. I need, the remediation company is coming and you need to go through with them what we can keep and what we can't. So that also threw on additional onto my plate. So now I'm very back to basics where I really want to take on a few projects, enjoy it, and work with the people who I know and love and who respect the process.
So I'm interested, what does that look like for you? Um, I have spoken to a number of creatives, architects who are getting into FF&E and the
Mhm.
design thing,
Mhm.
designers who are starting to look beyond the 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 thresholds and starting to take on, the exterior landscape because if someone wants an outdoor kitchen, and I've said this too, it's a running gag here, but an outdoor kitchen is no longer a Weber grill and a running hose. I mean, look, when I was a kid, that was the thing. And then you got the built-in grill, and it was so cool. But nowadays, the outdoor kitchens, there is an expectation, especially where you are in Florida. Florida was the first place I ever saw people screen in their yards and screen in their pools. You will go to great lengths to get outside as often as you can. And so the entertainment center. So what does that mean for you as far as how you expand your services?
Well, I've always been very passionate about the construction side of things. And with the construction, it does lead to the exterior and also landscaping. And you are right. We have definitely an indoor outdoor experience here where we want the indoor to continue out and the outdoor areas to feel like a part of the home because we are outdoor entertaining so much. So, from the very beginning of my firm, even though I am originally from the Midwest, so it was hard for me to learn the plants down here and the landscaping that will survive, and our seasons are different. So that was a big learning curve, but I enjoy the process with all of the other um, team members that I work with. So I love getting involved in the landscaping with the landscaper, and I love getting involved with the architecture. And even though it's not I don't know as much as them by any means. It's more of a passion side for me because it's always a learning experience and it's always interesting to see how the outside does flow with what we're doing inside. So it's a very important thing so there's not a disconnect to make sure that I am understanding what's going on outside the house and what's going on within the architecture as the house is getting built.
Yeah. And as I think about it too, it's we're in a really interesting place right now in the industry.
Hmm.
You've got this overwhelming demand and desire for better designed homes, better built homes, more resilient homes, eco-friendly product and services. But at the same time, all the costs are going up,
Hmm.
which means, and clients don't automatically get, oh, well, there's, a 13% tariff on this and a demand surcharge on that. So my kitchen's going to cost $50,000 more. Sure, I'll just add $50,000 to the budget. No problem. You start getting into the point where clients start taking less and you have to design less into it. So it affects your bottom line. And here's this opportunity to take on an outdoor kitchen project. Look, if you could add $150,000 room to a project, why wouldn't you?
Hmm. Hmm.
And where does that kind of cross the territorial line between, because there's always conflict, right? There's always designer architect, designer contractor, contractor architect, architect landscape architect. I mean, there's always the conflict, right? Where
Hmm.
does that cross the line, and how do you navigate that and still build additional revenue lines into the firm? Because that's your future, that's your legacy.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting because it's the first time in a long time where I see more people pushing back at me where I'm having to value engineer my designs because the pricing has come back too expensive. And I've never really had that before. I've been very fortunate to have a budget, and if I surpass it, nobody gets angry because they love the product and they're ecstatic by what we've done. And they've known along the way if things are getting more expensive than what we originally talked about. It's now to the point where costs are higher. We're putting numbers down for budgets, and when we're getting the quotes back, they're more. And there's a lot more work that we're putting into it because you have to make reselections and you have to redo the designs of built-ins and redo ceilings and things because the construction is too expensive. And the way that we're navigating it, honestly, is by trying to work more with the tradesmen to value engineer in a way where you are getting the same look for less, and then also making sure that we're trying to get more things that are sourced in the US. So, I think during COVID, everyone said, we're made in America. And then you started finding out the companies that really weren't, right? The bits and pieces that weren't made in America. And it's like, okay, well, if you're made in America, why is it taking so long? And it may be the hinges that attached the posts to the headboard that were made in China. So I think that that was a big correction for our community, and that now we are really trying to source in the US so that we can know what we're getting and expect the lead times and pricing. Pricing is a big point right now.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
So here's the question I have for you about pricing. And I feel like it all comes down to good communication with your partners and your vendors and your showroom partners and your multi-line reps. And how do you build on these relationships when everybody is stretched so thin? And listen, it's got to be frustrating for you too if you're working with a rep or you're working with a showroom. And it's like brand X was, it was $10,000 last week. It's $12,000. You just got notified going forward, and it's probably going to be $13,000 as we get closer to the end of the year. How do you navigate those relationships, and how do you establish the kind of relationship with your partners that allows you to get ahead of this? Maybe you want to front run and buy some things early, communicate with the clients. Are you having those kinds of conversations? And do you have to work in this sort of design arbitrage environment now?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I did when season hit during COVID and
It's so funny. Sorry, I gotta just stop you right there. When you said when Steven hit, I'm like, who's Steven and who
oh,
did he hit?
season,
And
our
I
our
got it.
season. When ours, it was overwhelming. So when we had so much business, and when it was the Wild West down here, it was crazy. I did go to a lot of the companies that we source from and was actively speaking to them about, am I getting the best price? I was making sure that if I was going through a third showroom, if that was a middleman, I was trying to cut them out so that I could go direct so I could get better pricing. And if I had a big purchase that I was going to do with the company, I did speak to them first and say, listen, like, I'm giving you a big order. Are you going to be able to deliver it? So I think at that point, I was really talking to vendors more than I had ever in my whole career, and was negotiating, but it was more about, am I going to get my product? It wasn't pricing at that point. It was, please tell me I'm going to get it and that you're not going to delay me for 6 months and make me look bad to my client. So I think that's what kind of got the ball rolling. And then now, when all of these things are happening with the tariffs and price increases, I'm still doing the same thing. If I have a big order for somebody, I'm sending it into that sales rep and saying, okay, if I'm giving you this dollar amount, can you give me better pricing? If I'm picking things that are readily available, can you give me better pricing because it's in your stock? So I feel like there's a lot more negotiation going on with me now, and I am more privy to it than I've ever been. But it's just the circumstances, and there isn't as much money to be made as there used to be. I did up my time billing so that my hourly fee is more to try to compensate with that, but it is a unique time.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're having kind of a circular conversation because it's a chicken and egg scenario. Do you roll out more services for which you can charge and do more things, or do you get smaller and charge more per hour? I think too, and just something that you have to talk about because of the environment we're in. There's, I feel a lot of conflict in the
Me
air,
too.
right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is an unsettled time.
Hmm.
When when things are unsettled, people are less trusting.
Hmm.
They gravitate inward. They put up walls and shields, and your role as a designer slash psychologist slash psychiatrist slash marriage counselor, you have to now get more granular in your relationships. At
Hmm.
the same time, we have some other issues on the other side of the business. Dupes,
Hmm.
boots. I mean, the amount of boot merchandise and boot design that's out the bootleg that is being done, especially, if you get something made in China, the moment that design hits the Chinese factory, somebody somewhere is already trying to re-engineer it into another product.
Hmm.
So you have to deal with that. You have, and even here, you've got the Kardashian and Clements design case versus
Yeah.
Donald Judd. You've got the Aaron Judge case versus the Florida designer, because they
Yes.
try to get too friendly with the client and this lack of communication. It seems like a perilous time to be a small firm in interior design, but at the same time, it feels like the opportunities are endless.
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you navigate risk reward?
That's a tough one because um, it is so much trust from your client, and it's something that is not given, it's earned. So if I mess up on one thing that I'm invoicing my client, the trust is gone. And all of a sudden they're going to be questioning everything from that point out because of one mistake. So you just have to be really careful with what you're doing, and with everything at the arm's reach of internet now, case goods are a no-brainer in lighting because a client can Google and do reverse image and they can find that pricing in minutes. And so just we have to make sure we're really competitive and that we're always making sure that we're giving our client competitive pricing. And we have to make sure that we're just double checking, triple checking to make sure that there aren't any mistakes when we do send it so that they don't lose trust in us. And I always tell my client that as we're continuing to work on the project together, our projects are minimum a year, a lot of them 2, 3 years. It just depends on what they're building. And so as the time goes on, you get to get in this groove with the client. And I always try to morph myself into what's more comfortable for them. And so it's whether they're more comfortable me picking up the phone and talking to them, or whether they want me to send them a text. So it's that morphing into what they're comfortable with and trying to analyze and be there in their mind of what's going to make you feel comfortable with me and what's going to make you know that I have your best, interest in mind. A lot of my clients are not here, and it's a long distance relationship because I'm supposed to be their liaison, making sure that things are going well when they're away. So it even makes it a little trickier because that distance can create time lapse that you don't realize. Weeks could go by where you're not seeing or talking to your client, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, like they probably don't think I'm working on their project. Like I need to make sure that they know that I'm on top of it. So it's definitely a unique challenge, especially for the long distance side of it. But honestly, it's just trying to communicate with them in a form that makes them feel comfortable so that it's earning and gaining their trust.
It is really interesting. This triangular relationship between brands and showrooms and industry partners, designer and client. Do you take your clients to showrooms with you?
I try not to. And I usually tell them that up front. I try really hard. I say, I'm not going to go and sit in furniture with you. If there's a certain piece that you want to sit in, I will find a client that I've sold it to and we'll go to their house. I try really hard not to go into showrooms or even big box stores with my clients.
Is it because you don't want the representatives switch pitching them and reselling them, or because you don't want them wasting your time with all of the things to look at, feel, touch, and talk
It's
about?
more of me not wanting to waste the salesperson's time, honestly,
Oh,
because I know
interesting.
I'm not
Really?
going to buy from them. So I'm going to buy direct and then go into a showroom and waste somebody's time and not buy it from them. I just feel like that's not fair. So it's more that side of it than my time being wasted.
Okay, so this is interesting. So when it comes to purchasing,
Mhm.
so you're specifying when you're doing new builds, are you pushing the specification off to the contractor, builder, developer, or do you do it all?
We do it all.
You do it all.
Oh, we do it all. I work from when the when before the architect usually starts the plan, when it's in sketch form, that is normally when I start working with the architect and I bring a different viewpoint into the architectural plans. So I am usually heavily involved in the architectural plans, ceiling details, walls, trusses, windows. I mean, I would say only 10% of my job is the fun side that people see with the fabrics and furniture. Majority of it is on construction sites being dirty and, trying to make sure that it's moving along smoothly.
So if that's the case, tell me about what I'm getting from that is that you have a very hands-on approach and you're controlling a great deal. But with that also comes this responsibility where you have to go see everything that's out there.
Oh yeah.
You have to do a ton of research. How do you manage the research against value of time that you have to do?
Oh, it's always tough. And I'm one for falling down rabbit holes. If there's an issue on site and I'm trying to figure it out, I will definitely fall down a rabbit hole trying to come up with different solutions. That's where, honestly, when it comes to my team, I am heavily focused on the construction side and the organization and the timeline. And I do have a good team that can help me with the soft side that frees me up. So I'm still making the selections of the furniture and things, but when it comes to that point of the project, my team gets heavier in communication with the client when it comes to ordering furniture, ordering lighting, because it's already all selected. So that helps a lot.
So that must also mean that you have to travel quite a bit.
I do.
What
Yeah.
events do you go to? What trade shows do you go to? Which ones do you find
It
interesting,
depends
valuable?
on, yeah, it depends. Like last year I went to Deco Off, but the year before that I spent more time at the Maison Objet show. And I always try to go to High Point but not twice a year. I'll usually go only once a year because it's usually pretty similar. If you go in April and October, you're kind of doubling up. So I'll usually only go once. Atlanta Market. I've never been to Dallas for rugs
Lighting.
or lighting or round top or any of that, but I would love to. It just depends on, what I'm looking for and where I'm at with my projects and my clients, to be honest.
You produced the funniest reel where you were talking about what goes into your bag for
Oh
High
yeah.
Point. By the way, it's funny. You only covered like half of it. You didn't even get into your footwear.
Oh, I did not. I did not. And the thing that everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, I never knew that," was that you need cash for all of the parking. I'm like, "Really? Out of all that, you got the point that you needed cash for parking."
Isn't that the funniest thing? Like cash. Who carries cash?
I know.
Ugh. But that is actually a great point. You know what's funny? I haven't gone to High Point yet, and it's never worked for my schedule. I'm still trying to work it out with these guys to get there. I am excited because I'm going to be going to CEDIA for the first time this year. Do you ever go to a show like CEDIA or CES to find out about the technology, the new stuff that's coming for in-home? Because I know that you guys specialize in AV as well.
Yeah, we do. Actually, there is so in Orlando, and it always is around the same time as the Aurora Awards for designers, there's a builder show. So I've gone to that a lot where it's more technology, building products and things like that. I have gone to also the KBS, is it KBIS? The one that,
KBiz.
yeah,
Yeah.
the kitchen and bath one I've gone to quite a bit. When they used to have the Architectural Digest one up in New York, I would go to that one.
Yeah.
Had that for a while. Um,
Dwell was one of my favorites.
yeah,
Used to love that show.
yeah. So, I mean, I've been all around and
Yeah.
it's just, I have never been over West Coast, like the Pacific, any of those showrooms. I've never gone over to like the Las Vegas or, which I think would be interesting.
Well, listen, you should know I produce all the programming for the West Edge Design Fair, which is in Santa Monica in November, 20th through the 22nd. If you're looking for a time to come to Southern California, that's not a bad time to do it.
I should. That would
Yeah.
be an amazing thing. I
Yeah,
would
I'll
really
send you info
enjoy
on it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really interesting too that what I've noticed is every region of the country, it you have a different style, you have a different feel, you have a different vibe, especially now, I think, because so many people have moved around
Yeah.
that you've gotten this commingling of vibes from, and New York and South Florida tends to be a particularly strong grouping. I think you get a lot of snowbirds. So I'm wondering, are you also, as far as the typologies and the type of work that you're doing, what are you doing more of these days? Is it mostly residential? Is it commercial? Is it hospitality? Are you designing Airbnbs?
Yeah, that's interesting. I am doing more commercial than I've ever done
Hmm.
in the history. So I was so excited to start doing a little bit of commercial when I started my firm. It was something that my last company that I had worked for 13 years, they really didn't do any commercial and it was all residential. So I was so excited about it. And I haven't done a ton of it, but it is a different animal and I enjoy it. So I am doing like right now I'm doing a golf course clubhouse, which is so much fun because it's a learning experience for me. I love doing things that make me have to do research and make me a little uncomfortable, a little out of my realm. I enjoy that. And then I'm also doing I've done a few condo lobbies, but this one is a lot more intense where it's got a cafe, a game room, theater, guest suites, a rooftop. It's a lot of areas. It's got two pools that we're doing the furniture for. So it's again, it's out of my realm, but I enjoy it. I like being a little uncomfortable and having to learn.
When it comes to learning, Are you using AI to help you?
Not as much as I should. I am again a little slow on the uptake with AI, and all the girls in the office are younger than me, and they're like, Renee, like it could really help you. You you wouldn't have to spend as much time if you just ask it. So I'm definitely a little slow on using it as much as I should be.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you always hear this, especially the longer you're on Instagram in particular, and you're just doom scrolling, right? You'll always see, is AI going to take my job? No, AI is not going can't take your job as a designer. It's like, well, a couple of things. First of all, maybe not today, but tomorrow it might.
Mhm.
And are you going to lose your job to AI today? No, you're not going to lose your job to AI today, but you might lose the project to a designer who knows AI tomorrow.
Correct.
It's just one of these things, but I think you've kind of counterbalanced that by bringing youth into the office. Like I would be lost without my kids. I'm serious. When it comes to tech, I feel like I'm on the front end right now because of the age of my kids exclusively. It's not because I'm doing it.
I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I have a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old. So they're the ones that keep me updated. But I also have an office full of young girls, and they are so above me with the technology that it's very helpful.
How have you managed and stayed ahead of the type of burnout that everybody I talk to is has mentioned this as part of what they're living through right now. The more honest ones are like, here's everything that it's doing to me and how it's keeping me from working. But most people are like, here's how it's affected me. I'm not as, I can't be as creative for as long as I used to because all of these added pressures and just the pure chaos of where we are or seem to be these days.
Mhm.
How do you clear the palette? How do you clear the deck? How do you get rid of the junk and the um, imposter syndrome and all of the things that creatives have to fight through to stay fresh and sharp?
Yeah. Um, I mean, for me personally, my biggest outlet, which is also a double-edged sword, is traveling. So I get so much inspiration from traveling, even when I don't know it. And it's hard because then I'm out of the office and I'm always playing catch up, and it's kind of I'm my worst enemy when it comes to that. So I enjoy getting out of the area and traveling, which really, really helps me. I think that we got really hit by Ian. My own house personally flooded, and it was hard because we had all of these things going on, and then we had another one hit. And so that was a really hard time. It was hard to stay motivated, and it was hard to stay excited. And we had a lot of people move out of our area. We have still Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel that are not even close to getting fixed, and people are still trying to get their homes redone from the hurricane. So that was really, really hard on everyone's mental stability. And I think that just rebounding from that was such a you really had to dig deep to say like what's important, what's the reality of how hard do you want to work, how hard do how much drainage are you going to put on yourself. And so I mean I'm a workaholic. I'm always here late. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, so it's hard for me to break away. But my one outlet I would say is the traveling and just getting out and seeing other
You
areas.
are listening to my conversation with Renee Gaddis. We'll be right back. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific Sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to the program. First of all, because I love new sponsors to the program, but also because this one is something that each and every one of you has been looking for. Loam AI is a company that has its roots in technology and engineering with a passion for high-quality content development. Listen, designers, architects, landscape architects, shelter industry brands, you know that time is the one thing we can't create, right? So how would you like the power of AI in content development, programming, that allows you to design instead of editing videos, scripting, and writing your content for social media? Loam AI was created by a team of engineers with a passion for creative content development. This is text to video, so you describe it and Loam AI creates it. It's really amazing. You're going to have to check this out. And they make it simple to change content sizes for different social media outlets. How tired are you of trying to resize the content that you create or send it out to a freelancer and keep getting the recharges because it has to be put in different sizes? It's a pain, and Loam AI fixes that. It's easy to use, has US-based support if you need it. Let me rephrase. The support is here in the United States if you need it. Stunning images, realistic voices, built-in captions, and it's simple to use. Sign up and try it for free without a credit card at loam-ai.com. I'll say that again. LOME-AI.com. Simple, inexpensive, text to video, harnessing the power of AI to grow your firm beautifully. But with that, it also kind of reminded me of something I wanted to ask you about. And it's funny too, because it was the second time you did it. Stephen was the first time, Ian was the second. I was like, wait a minute, who's Ian? And I have to keep remembering that you have all these name storms. So
Who are these people?
it's not, yeah. But as designer, as someone who is involved in such an intricate way and high level from the very beginning of some of these projects, and located where you are, you find yourself at this precipice too, where these clients, and you're thinking about all of these things, and it goes into the chaos and the burnout, and thinking about all of these things that you have to take into account now that you didn't before. And I'm doing a program, we're curating it for West Edge this year. It's based on the premise that I started during the pandemic. I started this series called Designing for Disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Because starting in March, when everybody was stuck at home, I started thinking about what I was doing. And I think much like you, where you had no projects for a brief amount of time, because nobody did,
Nobody did.
I I was thinking about what I was doing, and I wasn't doing any live interviews, and I wasn't having any of these conversations live. And I started thinking, what can I do about it? So I started talking to creatives all across the country. It's like, what are you doing? How are you dealing with this? How are you navigating this? We're in a really interesting position now where you are building $1 million, multi-million dollar projects. These multi-million dollar projects are in a region that has severe weather events.
Mhm.
Insurance companies are starting to pull up stakes and move out, which then sort of resets a project. Like most clients can't invest $2 million dollars into a residential project only to have a major storm hit, be uninsured, and have to fund the entire rebuild of that again. And even if it's not the full rebuild, maybe it's $200,000 damage.
Mhm.
Great. But as a designer, what level of education, how deep are you getting? How granular are you getting in the, okay, here's the most sustainable way I need to build. Here's the most defensible way I need to build. Are you communicating with the architects to really talk about, you know, drainage and wind resistance and fire resistance, because you still have that to contend with too. It can be overwhelming, I would imagine.
It is, but it is overwhelming, but it also, I think, has taught me a lot that I would have never known. Um, so the houses that were built that had damage from the storms, if the windows failed, I knew which windows those were, and I thought they were great windows. And now I'm like, maybe we need to not use those windows because even though they were hurricane rated, they failed, and it was a brand new build house. Or was it something that the builder did? So there's a lot of things that I learned from the disaster that I would have never known. Long rafters that brought the roof up, where who would have known that the rafters were too long that came out of the eave of the home. So there's certain things that um, I never would have thought of before and I never would have questioned, where just from what we've lived through with the storm, we're a lot more knowledgeable about even just the building products for the flood level, and making sure that, a lot of the generators, air conditioning units, and things like that, they were put up on a platform to code. And Dade code is one of the strictest codes in, I think, the US. So it was probably the highest it should have been. They weren't high enough. And so now we're going above code and we're building, platforms higher, and where we used to build out lower levels to the nines thinking, oh, nothing would ever happen. We're not doing that anymore. The areas that are below flood, uh, not going as crazy as we used to. And even things like outdoor kitchens that are below flood, we're putting them on hidden casters where they can be moved. There's so many things that we're doing now that it's more knowledge that I've gained. I mean, it's a disaster and it was not fun, and I would never wish it on anyone, not my worst enemy, but I've learned a lot. I really have. I mean, I feel like my knowledge now is way higher than it was with the building than before.
Do you find yourself also getting requests for the largely unseen safe rooms,
Yes.
um, basements?
Yeah.
Are you getting a lot of requests for that?
We don't have basements, but tons of safe rooms. We are getting a lot of people who even are doing just extra protection. So if they have hurricane windows, they're still doing shutters. So they're doubling up. It's kind of interesting because I think some of the people who weren't down here for the storm, because a lot of our clients are snowbirds, it was not, they weren't here to experience it, so they don't quite understand, the devastation. So some people are still kind of clueless, but then there's other people who are doubling up on things.
That's really interesting.
Mhm.
How do you see that changing? And do you find that you have what's the design industry like down there? Is it tight?
Yes, I would say so. We're a tight community of designers, but during COVID, we had a lot of designers move down here who were from other areas. And there's a lot of transient designers, and I would say the for Naples and Southwest Florida being a small community, there are, I want to say, 600 designers. Now, are they licensed designers? No. Um, but the Florida recently changed the law with licensed designers as well. So Louisiana and Florida, I think, were the two most strict states with licensed interior designers. And DeSantis recently changed that and lightened it so that it's not as tough to be a designer if you're doing residential. So we have an influx. There's a ton of designers down here, but I would say that my competition, the clients that are usually interviewing me and the other designers that they're interviewing, we're friendly. We, can call each other up and talk about business and try to help and guide each other and build each other up instead of being true, competitors.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that was happening, but I think it has come to surprise me, really, that as much money as flows through the design and architecture industry, that we don't have a stronger voice
Hmm.
when it comes to things like that. I mean, when restrictions are lifted as far as who can be a quote unquote interior designer versus a decorator versus, your sister-in-law Sarah coming in to refresh a room, which is highly inadvisable and you get what you pay for. But
Hmm.
it's interesting to me that the industry is not stronger from a lobbying standpoint, especially at the local level. Why do you think that is?
You know, you're right. It's a lot of money. Especially the clients that I'm dealing with. We're not designing something that's going to easily be changed if there's a mistake. When we're designing something, they're putting a lot of money into it, and I'm guaranteeing that it's going to be timeless and that it's not going to be trendy and that it's going to be something that they think of as home. That is what I want to give them. I want to give them something that feels comfortable to them and exceed their expectations. So, with all of these people that are coming down here that are starting to be designers, opening up their own shops, it's scary. I think the average person doesn't understand what we do. I think that with a lot of the like, I never I don't have time to watch TV, but I never really watch those home makeover shows. And when people are saying, "Oh, well, look at they redid a bathroom for $5,000 and it took them 3 days," it's not reality, even though it's reality TV. It's not reality down here, and it's not reality with my clients. And so I think the majority of the people just don't understand it. And so that is where there's that disconnect. I think even my friends, I don't think know exactly what I do and how intense some of the decisions I have to make are. I take my job very seriously. I'm very passionate about it, but I also I care a lot. And I just think that it's just not knowledgeable. People don't realize they look at Instagram and they think, oh, look at that pretty room. um, I feel like you have to know the rules before you can break them, right? You have to know
Oh,
the
that's so true.
fundamentals. You have to understand scale. You have to understand all these things, and then you push your limits. So I think it's just a lack of knowledge, and it's right, lack of knowledge.
Well, yes, and I'm also, I think it's just fascinating. And I kind of ask about the community and I also ask about the lobbying because I don't understand. Okay, like in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
right? Pacific Palisades burned to the ground.
Right.
Karen Bass signs an executive order that basically is part of it is, expediting the process and allowing up to, 110% of build per buildable lot. Part of the problem originally was the density, and it was just so highly dense, it
Mhm.
wasn't suitable to build that much in that area, right?
Right. And is she doing it all over again?
And not only are they doing it all over again, but if you're adding a greater percentage, you're
Mhm.
going to get a higher level of density.
Right.
And you have designers who are saying, yes, we're going to create a new, we're going to create a new structure, and we're going to do case studies, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. That's great, but what I don't understand is how come the local ASID chapter doesn't take 50 designers and go down to your congressman's office, go down to the mayor's office, go to the governor's office and say, hey, look, this is what you're doing
Mhm.
to us by
Mhm.
doing this. Why do you think, and I know everyone's busy, but why do you think we as an industry don't kind of gather and demand that way?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. I know that down here, they're struggling with um because everyone that was hit with the hurricane was having there's the 50% rule with FEMA. And so you can only invest 50% into your home's value to redo it, or you have to tear it down.
Wait a minute, I'm not familiar with this. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so the issue is, so if you're not to the new standard of flood level, if you're not up to the current flood, so if you're high, and I think they just changed the flood level, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. So they raised it. So if you're not up to the current flood level of 2 years ago, then there's this 50% rule with FEMA. And with all of the raising costs, right? So all of these costs that have increased, you're only able to put 50% back into your home because it's below flood, or you have to tear it down and start over. So there's a lot of issues with that where people can't afford to tear their house down and build new, or they don't want to. And then there's also a lot of lot lines that have changed as well. So if they tear their house down, they won't be able to rebuild it where it is. So I know that there's a lot of internal struggle with that right now. And I know there's a ton of it going on in Fort Myers Beach, which and Sanibel, but mostly Fort Myers Beach, which is why they're so far behind on rebuilding, is because they're trying to figure it all out. So we're still in kind of a state of emergency when it comes to that, that they don't really have time to think about other things. They're still trying to figure out how to get people back in their homes, and to where, they're safe and sound again.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it kind of leads to the point that there is a far greater importance. And to your point too, that most clients have no idea what you do.
No, they
You
don't.
know,
And
it's
they don't
it's
understand all the codes. There are so many, and granted, codes are stronger when you're doing commercial work, but I mean, there's so many that you have to go through, so you can't always do the design they want if it's not meeting up to what code is.
yeah, no, 100%. Which is really interesting. What do you do when you're not working? How do you recharge the batteries?
I've taken up golf in the last like year. I'm not good, but I enjoy it. I went to school originally for fashion design, so fashion is definitely my passion. So when I'm not working, I'm usually shopping or, scrolling more fashion sites. Um, Spending time with my family, boating. We boat a lot.
It's interesting too because your kids' ages and mine are very similar. Mine are 23 and 21.
Okay, yeah.
So there's this phase where it's like I've got all this extra time to go do stuff, and you don't necessarily want to spend all of it working.
No.
But I think it's interesting your fashion experience. How does that affect the design experience for you?
I think that. it's a plus and a negative. So fashion is always, I would say, a few years ahead of design. So I am, because I'm so heavy into fashion and I enjoy seeing it, I think that sometimes I try to bring fashion into design a little quicker than what people are accepting it. So a lot of times I'm trying to, talk to my clients into something where they're like, maybe a little too crazy for me, but then 6 months go by, a year goes by, and then you see it everywhere. So I feel like I'm definitely ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of the things that are shown in fashion and not quite haven't quite come over into the interior design area yet. Um, and it's I wish that I was doing more of the fun fabrics and things. Like I said, it's only probably 10% of my job. Um, but I do enjoy all the textures and the fabrics and just the color combinations and all that fun stuff.
Tell me about your work with the American Heart Association.
Oh, well, my daughter has a heart condition. When she was 18 months old, we found that what they say is that they think that she was fighting an ear infection, and her immune system was down, and so it made her heart, the flu attack her heart. So it was her AV node, so it was not the muscle side, it's the electrical side. So for a year, 18 months about, we just had to monitor it, and it was really scary. Her heart rate would go down to like 45, 50 at night. And she was asymptomatic because during the day her heart rate would beat on its own. And if she was running, her heart would be fine, but then it was when she was going to sleep was when her heart rate would drop. So finally, at 3 years old, they had her do a pacemaker surgery, and she's had three surgeries since then to redo her pacemaker battery. And she'll be dependent most likely for the rest of her life. But we got really involved with the Heart Association because of her. And we still try to be really involved in it. She's my 22-year-old now, going to be 23. So, she's lived a good life so far, but it's tough. She has to get regular checkups, and she has to transmit her heart to her doctor in Miami. When we were going through all this, there were no doctors in our area. So we had to either go to Tampa or Miami to see a specialist because there was no pediatric cardiologists that were invasive that could do surgery. So it's been a long journey, but she's doing great.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And it's also important to give ourselves the time and opportunity to work on things that are actually really, really important, far more important than design and architecture and furnishings. And I think it keeps us it keeps perspective.
It does. Yeah, I try to be really involved in the children's hospital here as well because we didn't have that for her. They built this beautiful Golisano's hospital, but at the time they didn't have the invasive pediatric cardiologist. They didn't have the staff needed, right? So they had the facility, they didn't have the staff. Um, and it was something where I was surprised by it because I was so excited for it to get built, and realizing just the inner workings of it. My husband was on the hospital board, and really understanding how hard it is to get good doctors to move down here. So we try to really support that as well as the Heart Association so that we can get and keep good doctors down here, not only for the elderly, but for the young, because we have so many young families here. And it was the pediatric doctors that we were lacking.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome that you do that. And I think it was also awesome that you did this. So thank you
No,
very
oh
much.
no, I thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're kind.
I'm honored.
This was fun. The Design Hardware Showroom is a space where specifiers can go and find an incredible selection of high-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware and so much more. Select products are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. You will find everything you're looking for, even the products by brands you didn't know you didn't know. Surprise and delight. Am I right? All under one roof on 3rd Street in Los Angeles, just up the street from the Grove. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find inspiration, collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your specification list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com, at Design Hardware and Flooring on the socials, or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles. Thank you, Renee. Amazing. Loved our chat and appreciate the time. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, share it with a friend or colleague who loves design and architecture the way you do. Subscribe to Convo by Design wherever you get your podcasts, and continue the conversation on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X, and keep those emails coming with guest suggestions, show ideas, and locations where you'd like to see the show. Convo by Design at outlook.com. Thank you to my partner sponsors, TimberTech, the AZEK Company, Pacific Sales, Best Buy, Loam, AI, and Design Hardware. These companies support the shelter industry, so please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused, and rise above the chaos.